what happens is the driver at the end of his shift brings the diesel into the shed or into the siding, goes to the refueling point, fuels it up, switches it off, goes home. That's it. Okay. Probably fuel it up on the night time because it'd be easier. Sometimes you would have like an engineer that would start at say like 4:30, 5 o'clock, depending on what time the first train out is. Any severe breakdowns, the train might be taken out of service or you might have to fix it. But their job will be get it checked over, you know, get it oiled, you know, because some of them still have, like the Nova the 08, it still has like a traction type gear. Well, that still needs a bit of oil on it, so it will still be oiled, but they will check the oil levels of the engine and check the coolant levels of the engine, and then start it up. And the engineers will be authorised and trained to drive it out of the shed. Sometimes it won't be an engineer, sometimes it will be what is called a pilotsman or a banksman. No, pilotsman. And they were basically a train driver, but they wouldn't be. It wouldn't be like a mainline train driver. They wouldn't drive like the Deltics or the Westerns or the DMUs. They would just drive like a little shunter, and their job will be first thing in the morning will be to take the shunting loco and take it out of its shed and go to the carriage shed and make up the rake of carriages for the train that was first to depart. So let's say you're working somewhere like King's Cross, so your first train out at like 6 o'clock might be the first passenger service up to Edinburgh, which might consist of, let's say, we'll say a guard's brake van, and then a four third class, 4 second class, then a buffet car or a restaurant car. So what's that? Guard's van. And then probably 3 or 4 first class. So you've got a rate there of a good 15 wagons. So a little something like that can pull them out and about, get them all into the right order, get them onto the right platform, back them down, so that when the mainline loco crew come in, they'll come into the engine shed, they'll be assigned their locomotive for the day, they'll be told what route they're on, what platform they're departing from. I say they, it will be one person. He will then jump in, start his locomotive. It's already been checked by the engineers, writing his logbook that he, you know, what time he started. Check the logbook for any previous faults. Even back in the 50s they did, even back in its beginning they did this. Each locomotive would have its own logbook, and you would just literally open it up and put down, you know, be a bit like a diary, but not quite. It would just sort of say date, time of start of shift, end of shift, driver's name, any faults. and that's where you will write down, yes, the locomotive when it reaches 3000 RPM dies and then drops down to 2.5 and then picks back up again and does this all the time. And the idea is that when you get back, the engineers come to take the train away throughout the night time to work on it. They should open up the logbook and then they will stamp, or they will write underneath, yeah, found the fault, it was a dodgy throttle wire or something like that. So that's the idea. But nowadays, your train finishes at shift, it goes, the carriages go through an external wash, then backed into the siding by its own loco. You don't get a separate loco and carriages anymore. They are normally all one type of wagon, one type of train. They can be separated, but they're normally, by the looks of it, Ball Lake, they normally share a bogie at the back. So yeah, nowadays everything's run through a wash plant. It'll go into the engine shed. The engineers will go underneath and check all the wheels, check all, because back in the 50s and, well, the 40s and 50s, you would have had a bloke called a wheel tapper. And his job was to basically go around with a hammer and he would basically, as he's walking around, he would tap all the wheels. You don't get it on these, but on the bigger wheels, if it makes a ding, ding, the sound of a bell going off, it sounds really good. If it goes dunk, it gets marked up and it gets pulled out of service because it means there's a fracture in the wheel. Nowadays everything's done by magnetic imagery and everything else. So I'm going to try something.